Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
Cutest chickie that you ever did see. Hey Tracy, hey baby, look at us. Flowers, guaranteed, half as fabulous. And I go, and pass down. Say hello to this red carpet right now. Yes, I know that the world's spinning fast now. That on the bridge, you ought to step aside.
This is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins. Coming up, the songwriting team who's created Broadway's Crybaby, David Javerbaum and Adam Schlesinger. But first, speaking of John Waters musicals, we have a spectacular star, and here to introduce him, Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
I caught Hairspray the other night on Broadway, and the show is in great shape. It's still a lot of fun. And one of the reasons it's so enjoyable is its new Edna, George Wendt, who is just terrific in the show and terrific on Broadway, and I'm very happy he's here at Theater Talk. You really are the best Edna I saw since Harvey Fierstein, who created the role.
Thanks a lot.
I mean, as an actor, you're a great woman, I thought.
Thank you. Well, I finally got together with Harvey and belatedly asked his blessing.
Oh, you did? And he gave it to you?
Oh, Godfather, yeah. Can I play Edna?
Did he have any advice for you for that part?
No, just, oh, come here, you know.
That's good, that's good. And then you're going to be replacing him as the gay uncle in a catered affair, right? When he
That's funny.
Well, welcome to Theater Talk, George.
Thanks.
When you stepped into this role as Edna, and you've got to put on the dress for the first time. Had you ever done anything in drag before in your career at all?
Yeah, just the odd day on a movie or something. But and I'm sure we must have done it on Cheers.
You did everything on Cheers.
Yeah, but nothing sustained like this.
Yeah, and then learning just how to sort of move and dance and sing in the dress. Any particular challenges there?
Well,
in high heels at times, I guess you were.
As you know, dance is my life, or as we call it, la danse. Yeah, it was. You know, it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the rehearsal hall. Yeah. Did you?
But I mean, you spend time learning, a lot of time learning the dances, and you ever think, I can't? Is there ever a moment where you think, how do these musical theater people do this?
Oh well, yeah. So it was, you know, just. It's not as hard as you think. I mean, now there are people who have really, you know, amazing dance skills in the show, of course, and they've got way more complex choreography than is required of me.
I have to ask you, sometimes, you know, when they put these celebrity casting in here, they sort of adjust the dancing a little bit to make it a little easier for them. Did they do that all for you?
I don't think so.
No, you're doing the...
I just, you know, did what I was told.
When you were a young actor, did you want to be on Broadway, or were you more sort of wanting to be in television, movies, or was stage the direction you wanted to go in?
Well, oddly enough, I was so clueless as a young man that all I wanted to be in was Second City, and I didn't even consider, you know, probably, thank God, I didn't consider, you know, a career in the entertainment business, let alone, you know, being on, you know, one of the best sitcoms ever. So I had this very narrow, focused goal. Now, had I known how hard it is to get in Second City, I probably would have plotzed as well, but I didn't. So I just, after college, I goofed around for a couple of years trying to work out what I was going to do, and then I thought, well, by the process of elimination, I thought, like, that's a job I bet I wouldn't hate. And I'm pretty sure they got paid.
But Second City is pretty important cultural
it is.
force.
Why was it important to you to be there? What had you seen? What was the...
I just had seen these great... I saw like the last of the old school sort of groups who wore the coat and tie. And
the Mike Nichols, Elaine May era, really?
Well, I didn't see those guys, but it was more like... Martin Harvey Freeburg and Richard Shaw and Peter Boyle, those guys. And then that kind of gave way to these hippies, because they were all like beatniks before. Right. And then all of a sudden there were these guys with like long hair, and you know, it was John Belushi and Joe Flaherty and Brian Murray and Bill after him and Harold Ramis. And I was just really, I thought it was amazing. And so I wanted to do it because I didn't want to do anything else.
Right. What was the audition process like to get into Second City? What did you have to go through?
You know, they would have you do like 5 characters, just coming into it through a door and asking the information person at Marshall Fields, you know, where do I find, you know, men's socks or something. And you'd come in as 5 different characters.
And they would throw the characters out to you, you know, come in as a drunk,
you'd sort of
come
make
in as
them up yourself.
You do,
yeah. And there were other sort of exercises that they'd put you through. They'd give you little suggestions, and then they'd mix and match people and try to have them improvise together. It was pretty amorphous.
Thinking on your feet, though. Thinking on your feet.
Yeah. Ideally, you're not thinking on your feet.
What is that? What do you mean?
Well, they always say, I mean, there are performers who are just really so smart they can think and play. But they were in the fundamentals for improvisation. You're always taught that the richest stuff comes from your creative center, and it comes from being involved in the where and the who and the now and listening. And you know, it's at the risk of sounding pretentious, you know, it's almost like it just comes out of the collective unconscious, and that, you know, I guarantee you 90% of the richest laughs in all the Second City shows are just, you know, little improv things that were never written.
And as I say to Michael, saying yes.
Yes. Yes, and of course is one of the fundamentals.
What does that mean? I'm sorry, I'm not an improv man myself. So
yeah, well, when somebody
no,
that's you.
You're not supposed to. When somebody makes an initiation in an improv sketch, you're not supposed to say no, but you're supposed to say yes, and.
Is there any technique that you? Some of the techniques that you picked up in improv that transfer quite easily to doing a Broadway show, same lines, same moves, night after night? Because going from improv to being really encased in something, is there a relationship there in some way?
Yeah.
Styles?
Focus, knowing how the scenes. You kind of put the scene in front of yourself, ideally, and so knowing how to throw focus as well as take focus is huge in you know, any kind of show.
Yeah, in both. Yeah, and any of the
and listening, of course.
Right. And I guess keeping it fresh. I mean, you're hearing lines for the first time that you've heard a million times that week.
Well, yeah, and if you in improv, if you're not listening, you're toast.
Right.
If you're, that's why you're not supposed to be in your head thinking. Because if you're thinking, you're not listening and relating to your fellow players.
It's interesting now that Broadway is full of people such as yourself who had those tremendously big, popular shows in the 80s and 90s. I mean, that was sort of the training ground for Broadway stars of today, television sitcoms. Because Kelsey Grammer wants to come back, and David Hyde Pierce, of course, is a sensation in Curtains. And is that sort of the goal when you're on a sitcom that's a hit? You think, I'm doing this just to get to Broadway?
No, not at all. But oddly enough, I do remember Bebe Neuwirth mentioning that to me. Now, she had already been
she was
on Broadway to you know, pretty good success.
Yes,
she was a Tony winner when she joined our cast for, I want to say, Sweet Charity revival.
That's right.
But she savvily knew that being on this, even though Cheers, you know, wasn't necessary, or sitcoms weren't her cup of tea, you know, professionally, that it would kind of elevate her next time she came back to Broadway.
Yeah, absolutely did work for her. So, and Cheers ran how many years?
11.
11 years. And were you the first choice for Norm?
Probably. I don't know. There may have been others.
Let's be honest.
Actually, regarding the casting for Norm, you know, John Ratzenberger had an audition for Norm.
Oh.
And he felt it wasn't going too well. And so he was walking out the door, and they're saying, "Oh, thank you very much," you know, and he's like, "Yeah, thank you." And he literally had the door open, and halfway out, and he popped his head back in and said, "Now, do you have a bar know-it-all?" And they're like, "No, what do you mean?" And he started improvising as Cliff. and they wrote it in.
That's improv training.
That's good improv training, absolutely.
John's a good improv.
Yeah.
Well, you're also a terrific Broadway star, and really, it's a great performance, Edna. I encourage people to go see Hairspray again. The show's in great shape, and couldn't have much more
really
fun
great
than
time.
watching George Wendt singing and dancing up a storm. Thanks a lot for coming on the Theater Talk.
Deeply in your debt for your patience when I get a little upset.
Our guests are a successful comedy writer and a rock star, respectively, and now they've taken on writing.
Which is which?
But now they've combined to write a new musical for Broadway. They are David Javerbaum, who your day job is the head producer for The Daily Show.
Executive producer for The Daily Show.
And Adam Schlesinger, whose band Fountains of Wayne has many a hit, including Stacy's Mom Has Got What's Going On. What's up
Something
with
like that, yes.
song?
Well,
Yeah.
you don't know a song like that. It's not your era. What are you talking
now-
about? Trying to be hip here on me?
Adam, David, why have you decided to take on Broadway?
We were told there'd be money in it. We were misled.
They were pulling your
All right, who
leg.
told you that? That's the biggest lie of all time.
The producers of the show they rehired Mark O'Donnell and Tom Meehan, who wrote the book for Hairspray, to do the book, and they wanted a new songwriting team just to get a new voice. And they had they cast a wide net for songwriters, and they liked my lyrics and they liked his music, and we're both. I mean, he's a great lyricist in his own right, and so now we're both listed as co-songwriters for the show.
We had John Waters on the show, and he told us that he auditioned or listened to tapes for many writers songwriters who wanted to write Crybaby, and he obviously thought you guys were the best. When you sat down to write the show, what was the idiom or the style you thought you wanted to put it in musically, Adam?
Well, I think the idea in general was to make it sound like the period of the show.
50s.
Yeah, this show's set in 1954, but we wanted the lyrics to kind of make you do a double take. You know, we wanted it to sound like that era, but lyrically not to really sound like that era. To put stuff on top of rockabilly or square music or whatever it was that we were doing that kind of took you by surprise.
Yeah, you put a level of outrageousness.
The music of that period, a lot of it is so simple, and so much of it sounds so much like other songs, and the chord progressions are kind of limited. So, we sort of tried to use that to our advantage, I guess, by putting kind of semi-ridiculous
You're
stuff on
traditionally
top of
taught
that.
in musical theater that the music and the lyrics should be of a piece. And we prefer to have them not be of a piece, actually. Like if the music and the lyrics are at odds with each other, there's an irony and a tension between them. I think that can be very entertaining and very sort of surprising.
Did you come in as a team, or were you hired separately?
well,
And
actually,
we were friends before you
I
started
think
writing
they
the show?
approached us each separately, and when I got a call from Adam Epstein, one of the producers, he said, "Do you want to submit and try to get this gig?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Well, have you heard anything you like so far?" And he said, "Well, there's this lyricist we're really interested in." And I said, "Well, who's that?" "No, it's this guy. He worked for The Onion and The Daily Show." And I said, "Well, I love all that stuff. Maybe I should work with him rather than try to beat him." So I actually suggested, putting us together, and then we did 2 songs as a demo submission. Then one of them was that "Girl, Can I Kiss You with Tongue?" That was which is still in the show.
Yeah.
The stars up above shine their light on our love, and the night, just like us, is still young. And it's long and it's slow, and I need to know, girl, can I kiss you with tongue?
The other one almost made it to La Jolla one tier. It was like his Crybaby's theme song, but for various technical and stagecraft reasons we need not go into here. We have replaced it with...
Out, didn't work, it's
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Now, DJ, were you interested in the theater? We know, of course,
Yeah.
you're a TV writer, but is writing for the theater something you always
Yeah,
wanted to
I
do?
went to grad school at NYU, the musical theater
Oh, so
composition
you're
program.
a show queen, basically.
I am a total show queen.
I didn't want to say it.
I'm a total show queen. Yeah, I went to grad school for that. I've always wanted to be in this field. I just enjoy the process of writing lyrics and the whole engineering process of it and the puzzle making aspects of, like, how do you get the most pop from as few words as possible? How do you compress something into it? Just a little sort of mechanism. That's what musical theater is, to me. I love that aspect of it.
And you, Adam, any interest in the musical theater at all? I mean, you're the famous rock musician here.
I like that I'm being introduced as a rock star here. I feel like I'm Jimmy Page or something, Everyone watching is like, who?
Well, sometimes we have rock people who've come to Broadway, and they often say, musicals were really square when I was growing up.
Adam goes to hotel rooms and cleans them up.
That's a secret. I told you that's a secret. Well, I've done music outside my band in a lot of different ways. I mean, I've worked on films and television shows, and I did some theater when I was in college, but it's not something I was actively pursuing right now. But I got this call out of the blue from these guys, and I said, well, what's this project? What is it? And they said, oh, well, it's Tom Meehan and Mark O'Donnell, and it's John Waters, and it's a guy from The Daily Show. And, so it's like if you're going to have your first opportunity in that world, this seemed like the one for it to be.
But were you interested in musicals? Did you like, Richard Rodgers and Steve Sondheim and all the stuff that DJ grew up listening to when other kids were out playing softball?
I mean, I actually heard a lot of musicals and saw a lot of musicals when I was a kid because my grandfather, whose name is Murray Bernthal, who's now 97 years old, was a theater producer and promoter in Syracuse, New York, and so I used to go and work at the box office at his theater and see everything that came.
So it's in the blood.
It's a little bit in the blood, yeah. I mean, and he actually came to see Crybaby to celebrate his 97th birthday 2 weeks ago, which was a very nice event for us.
Very good.
Yeah.
How involved was John Waters in putting this together? I mean, he was kind of like the hovering over every scrap of lyric you wrote to make sure.
No. I mean, we call him the sort of the guiding angel, and that's accurate. I mean, he stopped by periodically to see how things were going. He has very specific notes. He is in no way possessive. He completely understands that this is a different medium than movies, and needs to change, to adapt to that medium. He's been terrific. He's been in no way like
micromanaging or anything,
no.
But he would have veto power ultimately, though, over a song?
He would never use it in that way. He would never come in and pound his fist on the table. But his notes usually were heated, I mean, so it was sort of a soft veto.
I think in general with the whole process, never really felt like there was anybody exercising a veto power. It felt like more like there were just group decisions that were being discussed and conclusions arrived at as a group. One
of the difficult things, I think, in adapting a John Waters movie for the stage, for Broadway, a mainstream arena.
It's been done before?
Yes, yeah, right. Is to decide, how John Waters, if you will, are you going to be? How grotesque are you willing to push it? Did you have that tension, that struggle?
I mean, the funny thing is that this movie was, I think, PG-13. Mm-hmm. It's not like we were doing whatever, Pink Flamingos or something. I mean, this was a pretty family-friendly movie to begin with. And
I wrote the lyric, "Girl, Can I Kiss You With Tongue?" and John Waters heard that and said, "Let's hire this guy." And I took that as, okay, that's what he wants. I mean, seriously, I'm happy to do that. He wants more, rough-edged, and a little bit more, dirty and trashier. I'm happy to do that, and I really we both tried to, work in his voice, through us.
The songs have a wonderful irony and satirical tone and texture to them. But in a musical, you sometimes have to write kind of like a straightforward ballad with heart. I mean, the characters have to be human. They can't all be ironic and self-mocking all the time.
Oh, yes, they can. Michael, I'll teach you a thing or
two. Can you write a straightforward love song?
The previous show, I wrote a show called Suburbs. It ran off Broadway at the York Theater in 2001 with a composer named Robert S. Cohen, who's terrific. And that was about the suburbs, about mowing your lawn, barbecuing, and all the spring rituals. And that was a much less ironically toned thing. It was very traditional in some ways. It was sort of a two-couple musical, and absolutely I can do that. I try to be as flexible as possible with what I can do. For this particular show, it felt like going for the funny and the irony was the way to go.
And the characters are actually saying what they mean within the context of the show. I mean, the characters are never undermining their own path through the show. I mean, if Harriet Harris sings this song called "I Did Something Wrong Once," which is supposed to be a funny song, but it's also this big admission of guilt.
I got pinned. Now I'm haunted by the memories of the pain I put people through. I am haunted by the memories. They say.
And "Girl, Can I Kiss You With Tongue" is funny, I think, because he's really asking.
Yeah.
He's not forcing anything. He's asking and making a reasoned case. And that's, the case is the song. And so it's sweet.
Or you have the obsessive stalker girl who sings Screw Loose. And it's this very beautiful, tortured ballad, but at the same time very funny that it's, you know, a stalker girl saying what she thinks.
And she means it, too.
Yeah,
Again, you know, it's supposed to be funny, but she really does mean it. Everyone says I'm crazy, but, you know, just because I'm crazy about you. I mean, that's the idea of the song. It's just done in a way where she's saying, okay, I'm literally crazy, but still,
it's just
still I like
Patsy
you.
Cline's crazy, but the idea being that she's actually crazy, rather than it being a metaphor. She's actually crazy.
All right, now that you're in the thick of it in this Broadway world, having done your first musical, is it a world that you like, coming from your the rock music world, or is it a world you think I'm done with this? This Broadway stuff is too hard.
I actually really like it a lot, and I mean, you know, there were some difficult periods. Just you know, it took a long time for the show from where we started to now. But in general, I really enjoyed collaborating with so many different amazing people. And it's also just really fun to see something in front of an audience every night, as opposed to just putting out a CD or even working on a film or something where it's a little bit more abstract. I mean, to fix a line in a song and then see it in front of an audience that night and see if they react or laugh or don't. You know, it's.
Would you ever consider writing the book to a musical, DJ?
That's what I would like to do. I'd like to write all the words. I'd like to write the book and lyrics. That ultimately is what I would like to do.
And eventually move into the music territory too, so
no,
it's the entire expression of your
I wish that I
artistic...
could compose music, alas I cannot. I work well with composers, but I
well, that's not totally true. I mean, he actually, in the case of this show, I mean, one of the reasons we decided to say songs by rather than lyrics by and music by is because there were certain cases where you would call me up and you actually had a melody and you'd sing it to me, and maybe I'd tweak it a little bit, but you know, he actually has, I mean, especially for this kind of genre that we were working in, I mean, he's as capable of writing a 50s rockabilly melody as anybody else.
Yes, in that world, perhaps. Yes.
Wow. Now, I assume you guys have gotten along well enough that you will write another show together, or is Crybaby it for you?
Our producers warned us, don't go on there and be ironic and bitter.
Yeah. We're actually already working on something else after this, which is that Stephen Colbert is doing a Christmas special this year, and we're writing some new Christmas songs. For him and for some other.
He wanted two Jews
guests
to write some Christmas songs for him. So
yes,
we were available.
He's the best, so yeah.
Well, now listen, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, but
yes, you do.
We wouldn't mind, since we have a piano here, if you might saunter over to it and give us.
I don't saunter.
Give us a song from Cry. You want to play the piano, right? Is that Do you mind giving us a bit of Crybaby, Adam? And you're going to sing, right, DJ?
I will sing.
We're gonna warble in unison. Yeah. We're only doing this so the cast can laugh at us. This is the only reason we're doing this. We're giving it.
What's your favorite song in the show?
My favorite song in the show? Well, I mean, one that seems to work well every night is this song called "Screw Loose" that we talked about.
With the crazy girl who's in love with Crybaby.
Yeah, and you know, it's sort of a backwards version of Patsy Cline.
Yeah,
song,
that crazy song. Yeah,
and she is actually insane in the show. And Ali Mozzie plays the character Lenora, and she's incredible. So DJ will now play the part of Ali Mozzie doing Lenora.
Yeah. I mean, it actually works for either gender. It's not even a gender-specific song, so it's fine.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that means you can take it out and put it on the radio and have a top 10 hit.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah.
All right, give us a little of a bit of a Screw Loose, if you will.
Screw loose. That's what they say I've got. Or maybe they say I'm not playing with a full deck. But hey, what the heck can I do? Baby, I've got a screw loose for you. Bonkers. That's what they're calling me. Not metaphorically, they mean truly insane. But they can't hear the voice in my brain, giving orders to keep loving you. Eccentric, erratic, toys in the belfry, bats in my attic. But I just don't see the harm in carving your name in my arm.
We're going to skip the solo section. Last verse. Then there's another bridge after that.
Darling, it's so hard to be 16 and schizo. But I know it's worth the cost. I've made up my mind, which I have lost.